participating in this migration.
Migration? More like extermination.
Huge. You stay here.
So sorry. I didn't mean to.
These people need heroes.
Yes, the Final Fantasy series. Is there any other series so beloved and so successful, where the title is very fitting to not only the in-game story, but also to the story of the creators, in which if their first game had failed, it would have been their Final Fantasy, literally. Throughout the ages, the Final Fantasy series has provided riveting characters, music that engrossed players with overwhelming emotions, and magnificent storyline and graphics, just to name a few. Now, not every Final Fantasy game is perfect. Some suffer from minor drawbacks, like Final Fantasy VIII has an annoying draw system that slows down the pacing. Then there is Final Fantasy IX, where every character looks oddly scaled. For Final Fantasy X, but they all have redeeming characters. Their minor drawbacks are insignificant when you compare them with their unforgettable stories, amazing soundtracks, and memorable characters. Not this game though. Final Fantasy XIII has more drawbacks than all the other Final Fantasy games combined. Final Fantasy XIII was developed and produced by Square Enix. It was released in Japan on December 2009 and worldwide on March 2010 on the PS3. The PC version was released on October 2014, and that is the version I will be using. What's up with their fucking PC ports, bro? Final Fantasy XIII and 15 both have bad PC ports. Whenever I launched 13, it had this stutter, and because of this, I almost gave up on this project. Do you know what's the fix? You have to fucking plug a PS4 controller. Are you fucking kidding me? There were other fixes, but this method worked for me. And according to the Reddit thread, the reason for the stutters is because the game is constantly looking for a controller. The fuck? On a PC port? Anyways, let's take a closer look on why this game is joining this exclusive club. Now, it's true that the older Final Fantasy games were linear too. I'm not gonna deny that fact, but they all have events in place throughout your journey. These events can vary from either a side quest, hidden cutscenes, or to advance the story. You see, the pacing is perfectly set to keep us immersed. There was never a moment where an event was far apart from each other that we start questioning what's going on. Sadly, 13 failed in this category. I mean, look at this shit. The beginning is understandingly full of cutscenes to introduce us to this story. But after an hour, we are still being introduced to story plots, game mechanics, and character developments that will fail later on in the game. In 13, all you do is run in a hallway road, fight the same type of enemies, then watch a boring ass cutscene, rinse and repeat. Don't believe me? Check it out.
I'll scoop things out of here. We fight it! Ragnarok! That's the reason we're Lassie. To stop it. To keep Cocoon safe.
The levels are simple with no forks. You will only be able to stray off the path for a few feet to find hidden treasure spears or optional enemies. There are no side quests until towards the end of the game, and by side quests, I mean those monster hunts. You're forced to follow the main objective, and for the first time in the series, you cannot go back to previous locations. You see, the devs wanted to focus on an intense, fast-paced storytelling and for those reasons the game suffers from linearity. There were some sections in the game where they throw in some mini activities and it keeps me entertained, but they're so short and only had 3 activities, 1 for Hope and Lightning and 2 for Saz and Vanille. Before long it's back to the same run. Now, linearity in this game is not the big issue. Other great games have them. One of my favorite Final Fantasy game is 10, and as you can see, this game is linear as well. But why does 10 get a free pass? Because it's full of content. This section alone has multiple events. We can play the very addicting in-game sport Blitzball, gain some backstory about Spira, have a summoner battle, take the Scrub's ball. There's a lot here, unlike 13. You just fight, run, fight again, some cutscenes, and then fight again. There's no random events in between them like the past Final Fantasy. I've played most of the numbered Final Fantasy series, that's Final Fantasy VI to Final Fantasy XV. If you ask me to summarize all of them, I will be able to, because every story was remarkable. They offer great plots, convincing character developments, and brilliant plot twists. It's etched in my brain forever. Sure, there were some plot holes, but they still captivated me. Now, 13 is different. The story starts with Lightning and Saz already boarded on a train. Lightning then sets everyone on board free and starts taking out the rest of the guards. And then we witness the whole area is a battle zone with what looks like normal citizens against special forces. And I can't be the only one who was like, what the fuck is going on? Next, a big bird or something lands on the train and we are introduced to our first battle and the first of many text tutorials in the game. Then the game keeps fucking switching to other party members and I find this so fucking annoying. You know, I'm trying to connect with the characters and before I can make up my mind, boom, next set of characters. So whatever reason, they all meet up, get branded by Seymour's Aeon, and we can finally start the game with all of them, right? Wrong! Fucking game separates them again, what? Why? So we can get used to the battle system? Oh, you mean this? The story involves 2 worlds, Cocoon and Pulse. Cocoon is a massive artificial sphere that floats above Pulse's surface and is ruled by the Sanctum. Pulse is a forbidden place where people of Sanctum don't discuss and fear thanks to the Sanctum's scare tactic. So the party are being hunted down by PSICOM, the in-game military force. So I think it's a better idea to stick together. Why separate them, especially when we keep meeting up? That doesn't make sense to me. They're hunted down because they have been branded by a Pulse fal'Cie. Once branded, they become a Pulse lessee and are given a focus, a vague vision or instructions given by the Pulse fal'Cie. If they don't complete this focus, they become this type of ghoul monster. And that's basically the story. The main problem with 13's story is the fact that nothing is really explained. There's no backstory. Why is Pulse so feared? What's the difference with Pulse fal'Cie and Cocoon's fal'Cie? What are these ancient buildings here? Did civilization started here, then move to Cocoon? This game also jams some of the info in the dialogue. Data logs are not bad, but if it's used right, it can be effective. My honest opinion is, you use dialogues to provide more info, not to introduce them. It seems lazy, you know? Instead of producing a scene to explain more stuff, they just added a dialogue. They were too focused on making action-packed scenes and failed emotional ones. It's funny because they wanted to make a one full story, then put uninteresting moments and lackluster cutscenes. Check this out.
Making a wish?
Maybe I was. I was hoping that tomorrow I can tell my sister. She'll be so mad, knowing I hid it from her.
Don't worry. I'll take the blame for you. You know, you should ask for something bigger. These are wish-granting fireworks, like in the stories.
Stories, huh? The sea who fulfill their focus, they become crystal and gain eternal life.
Would help if they gave you some clue about what you're supposed to do. We'll figure this thing out. You will never be one of those monsters.
So what will I be? A crystal?
Yesterday at the store, I got us something. I don't know much about jewelry, but I hope you like it. I will stand by you, no matter what happens. I'm yours forever. Sarah. My one, my only. Will you marry me?
Yes.
She said yes!
If you haven't played this game and see this scene, it looks uninteresting, right? Because we don't know who the fuck they are or why they're stressed. Nothing is explained. That's how this game's story is structured. The cast too are so boring. I only enjoyed 3 characters in 13. Lightning, who was based off of Cloud in Final Fantasy VII, and I think they did a great job. Lightning starts off angry and distant in the beginning, then slowly realizes that maybe he needs the rest to fulfill their focus. Fang is like the adult of the crew, leading the group to the right way. She seems reliable and experienced and is personally my waifu. Then there's my boy Sass. I love this guy. He's mainly the comic relief in the group.
1, 2, 3, we go!
What are you up to? Hey!
Wait up!
He's the only character I connected with. His story in this game was tragic, and the scene with him and Vanille in the amusement park was the only part of the game where I was interested. Now let's talk about the clowns in the game. Let's start with my most hated one, Snow. Every time this loser opens his mouth, I can't help laughing and thinking, is this guy for real?
Hang on, baby! Your hero's on the way!
He just seems so cheesy. I never met anyone like this, so he sounds artificial. I feel like I'm watching those AI videos where they're trying to sound human. No sane person will call themselves a hero, even if they are, right? Superman never said, "No problem, citizen, I am a hero after all." Even his companions see through his bullshit.
Keep him safe.
First impression of Snow? All talk.
What happened to banding together and saving the world? Isn't that what you promised? Now you want to forget it all and die right here? Snow, you're nothing but talk.
Hope is so fucking annoying. He hates Snow because in his eyes, Snow is the reason why her mom died. Wrong, stupid. She died fighting for your freedom. And I get it. The story tried to create this emotional setup for Hope, but it fails to convince me. and I'm willing to bet it on confusing scenes, the choice of dialogues, and the slow ass pacing of their story arc. And lastly, we have Vanille. Now, Vanille is alright, I just hate her voice. At first it was cute, but as the game progressed, I started to find it fucking annoying. She also seems so useless to the story, except for the scene with Sass. She always seems to just be eye candy in most scenes. Most scenes, she's there with only 1 or 2 lines, or just making sounds with her mouth. If Vanille had more personality, I think she would have been a more interesting character. It's sad because I play Final Fantasy strictly for the story and adventures, the twists and turns the characters endure. They provide me a unique story only found in this beautiful series, and 13 just fails to uphold that stereotype. You know, the battle system is not that bad. The problem is, because the story sucks and the game being so straightforward, the combat suffers as well. You know, 12 had a brilliant combat system. The gambits made the game more fast-paced. Instead of slowing down the game to choose specific commands and items, the gambit system works like programming. You set a situation like nearest enemy, then you set an action like attack. So now, if you move to the nearest enemy, your character will automatically attack that enemy. You can set many different types of gambits depending on the situation, and I love playing 12 simply for this reason. So why did 13 fail in their combat? You actually feel limited because you can only command one character. I can't even move them. Like, what the fuck? I hate when sequels release with awful mechanics, especially when their previous installment had a better one. I'm not saying they should have copied the gambit system, but to apply a similar effect. They had 6 years to develop this mess, and nobody said this combat system seems boring? This button here destroys the combat in my opinion. The only way the auto button can be justified is if we're controlling every ally in the field, but we're not. I ignore the auto button just to keep myself from feeling drowsy. The game is fast paced, and actually looking for the right commands kind of makes it more exciting. Auto button is tempting, but ignore it if you want a better experience. I don't know how to feel about the stagger system. At one point it feels like my weapon doesn't deal full damage until the enemy is staggered. But when they are staggered, most enemies become immobilized, and with the aid of a Ravager, you can deal large amount of damage. I don't like it. Sure, it places a strategy, but it feels more like a chore instead of a fun game mechanic. Now, what is fun is the paradigm mechanic, an upgrade to the job system in Final Fantasy. It's the only mechanic I like in this game. Summoning is here too, everyone has their own. Vanille's own is the best. The combat is very tedious, I mean more tedious here than the other Final Fantasy games, and it's all because of the setup of 13. Run in a narrow hallway, and participate in battles into a cutscene, then do it all over again with nothing in between. You know what Final Fantasy XIII looks like for me? It seems like it was made by someone who watches a lot of action movies and don't know how to structure their scenes. All of the emotional scenes feels lacking because not enough info is given out, we don't know them, and already we're giving a touching scene that just misses the mark. The linearity would have not been an issue if the story was a little bit more interesting. Combat as well was a big mess. I never expected a combat system to have the ability to put me to sleep. I'm supposed to be focused and alert. Now, I'm happy to say the sequels are good. 13.2 is a massive improvement. The combat is more fast-paced and exciting. I never played Lightning Returns, the third sequel. All I know is you have a time limit to beat the game. But I'm glad to say they learned from 13's mistakes and shortcomings. Let's hope they never fail this extremely ever again. But the fact remains, Final Fantasy XIII sucks. Welcome to my exclusive club, you scrubs. And thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe for more, right? Because there are more titles joining this scrubtastic club. I'll see you guys later.